What is going on, Destination Debbie fam? Welcome back to the station. You know who it is, Ray G. I am the captain of this here thing that we do on the channel, and I am excited. I am happy because I am back doing what I love the absolute most, which is talking about prospects, how these players fit for fantasy football purposes, how they fit on NFL teams, and what we should be prepared for, what we should be excited for or uninspired about when we're looking at the next group of NFL rookies. And today we are talking about my favorite player in the 2021 class. News broke that Rondale Moore, the dynamic wide receiver from Purdue University, is opting out of the 2020 college football season to prepare and focus for the 2021 NFL draft. We're seeing more and more high-level college stars do that. These are the times that we're in, and it is absolutely the right decision for Rondale Moore. Modified schedules, conference only. He has nothing to prove against Northwestern anymore. He is dynamic. The production from his freshman season and the beginning of his sophomore season are more than enough to justify this move by Rondale Moore. We are going to dive into what makes this player special, why we should be excited, and what to expect as far as a comp for Rondale Moore at the next level. So excited to get into this one. We will be doing this every single week. We are bringing you heat, keeping you ready. We'll get into it right after we hear a word from my man Gus Johnson. Drop that intro.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
So the goal of this is to give you quality, actionable information without you sitting here watching a 30-40 minute show talking about a player. It doesn't take all that damn time for you to get the information that you need in order to make an informed decision come rookie draft time fucking a year from now. But we'll talk about Rondale Moore and all these players more as we go on. But let's just dive into who he is as a player. Rondale Moore is 5'9", listed at 180 pounds, according to Purdue's athletic website. So let's take a look at Rondale Moore's high school profile. He was a 4-star recruit, according to 24/7 Sports, the 41st ranked wide receiver in his recruiting class, a top 250 national overall player. And probably a lot of that had to do with his size, right? Coming out of high school, listed at 5'8.5", 174 pounds. So not that ideal prototypical size when you're talking about a wide receiver. But when you look at his verified testing numbers as a high school player, verified, this isn't just some shit that we pulled out of the sky. 4.33 40-yard dash verified out of high school. His short shuttle, 4.01 short shuttle, and a 42.7-inch vertical jump. That is ridiculous. That is insane. And that is the type of athlete Rondale Moore is. And that level of speed, that athleticism, that shiftiness, that short area agility shows up all up and down this kid's tape. He is special. I don't care how big, how tall. And let me tell you something. He may not be tall. He may not be this big, brawly looking wide receiver, but he is anything but small. Rondale Moore, there are videos out there with this kid squatting 600 freaking pounds. And just for comparison purposes, there was a video that Myles Garrett, the starting all-pro defensive end from the Cleveland Browns, he was squatting 675 pounds. Now, mind you, Rondale Moore, 5'9", 180, squatting 600. Myles Garrett, 6'4", 275. So Rondale Moore may be short, but he is anything but small. That dude is built, put together, and you can see by his muscular frame, the strong lower body, I'm not concerned about the size limitations that Rondale Moore has. Now, let's take a look at what he did at Purdue and just look at the raw stats and how dynamic, how good was Rondale Moore at Purdue. As a true freshman in 13 games, he caught the ball 114 times for 1,258 yards and 12 TDs, while adding 21 carries on the ground for 213 yards and 2 TDs. So his total yards from scrimmage as a true freshman in a Power 5 conference, the Big Ten, 135 plays, 1,471 yards and 4 TDs. But that's not it. That's not it. Rondale Moore is a dynamic player, as evidenced by his kick return and punt return yards. As a kick returner, he had 33 for 662, and he had 12 punt returns for 82 yards. He He had over 2,000 total yards, 2,215 total yards. That's ridiculous. He's special, you guys. He's special. So let's go through the list of accolades for Rondale Moore. It's too much to even rattle off. He was a Paul Hornung Award recipient as the nation's most versatile player. Now let's talk about that for a second. Some past award winners of this particular award for the nation's most versatile player: Odell Beckham Jr., Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Jabril Peppers, and last season, Lynn Bowden Jr. So he is in very, very good company as far as being a versatile, dynamic player. First team All-American by the AP, ESPN, Sports Illustrated, CBS Sports, Football Writers Association of America. Every service that offered All-American status, he was that. He broke the school record for all-purpose yards in the season, broke the school record for most all-purpose yards in a game with 313, tied the school record for most 100-yard receiving games as a true freshman with 7, caught 11 or more passes in 6 games, and is the third player in Big Ten history with 100 or more receptions in a season. Played in all 13 games, only started 10 of those games, and was able to put up ridiculous numbers like that as a true freshman. Now, his 2019 season started off really well, and then he got hurt versus Minnesota. So in 2019, he played in 4 games, caught 29 passes for 387 yards, 2 TDs, ran the ball 3 times for 3 yards, returned 9 kicks for 151 yards, and 5 punt returns for 36 yards. Again, injury-shortened season, and by all accounts, everything that I heard and read, he could have come back and played in 2019, but Purdue was not a good team, and he didn't want to risk his NFL future, so he cut his season short. And it looked like an ACL or some kind of knee injury, but everything that I read, it was a hamstring. Neither here nor there. He's healthy. He was practicing and ready to go ahead of spring practice before that was canceled because of COVID. So by the time the NFL draft rolls around, Rondale Moore is 100% clear, healthy, so get all of that injury concern stuff out of your mind. Now let's dive into some age-adjusted production metrics. And as a film guy, I was very reluctant to use advanced analytics as a part of my process, but it's very important, and I'm going to tell you why. So one of the main things that I want to focus on, you hear terms like breakout age, dominator rating, market share. Let's talk about the breakout age. So Rondale Moore had a breakout age in 2018 of 18 years old and 3 months. So 18.3 was his breakout age. One of the youngest that we've ever seen was Brian Edwards at 17.9. So at 17 years old, he was dominating SEC competition. At 18 years old and 3 months, Rondale Moore was dominating the Big Ten in college football. Now, what does breakout age account for? What does that mean? What is it comprised of? Breakout age is defined as a player's age during the season he first qualified for a breakout season based on his dominator rating. For a wide receiver, it would be the first season that he accounted for at least 20% of the team's receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. So receiving yards and receiving touchdowns, 20%. Rondale Moore broke out at 18 years old in 2018. Now, why does this matter? Why does this matter? Make sure you write this down, pause this, reference this part of the show, because I will reference this repeatedly throughout these prospect profiles. My good friend in the fantasy space, Jesse Reeves, did some really good data, has some stuff out there that really shows why breakout age matters, and he's comparing it to draft capital. So the best sort of indicator of fantasy football success and what he's using as his hit rate target is a top 24 season at the position, a top 24 wide receiver. The best indicator of that is breakout age paired with draft capital. And if you take a look at this tweet, he pretty much says what I just said, right? So wide receivers drafted in the first round have a 63% hit rate, so 63% chance of finishing a season as a top 24 wide receiver. So let's pull up the actual chart that Jesse created that shows the wide receivers with first round draft capital in a breakout age of 18 years old at least. And let's take a look at which wide receivers were actually good, which, again, 63% finishes a top 24 wide receiver, and the list is pretty good. So let's pull that up. We've got Calvin Johnson, Akeem Nicks, Larry Fitzgerald, Corey Davis, Amari Cooper, Roy Williams, Reggie Williams, yikes, N'Keal Harry, Brian Edwards, and it says to be determined because this was pre NFL Draft: Nuke Hopkins, Des Bryant, Michael Floyd, Mike Williams, Rager, Britt Wright, Baldwin, Michael Clayton, Sammy Watkins, Mike Evans, and Devontae Parker. All of these wide receivers had a breakout age of 18, and they had first-round draft capital. And my man went back to 2004 with this one with Larry Fitzgerald. And the ones that had a market share receiving yards over 20%, they were all pretty good. Calvin Johnson, Nix, go down the line. Even Roy Williams. Yes, there are, of course, some misses. It's 63%, not 100% hit rate. But for the most part, it's a pretty good indicator of fantasy success. So when you're looking at Rondale Moore and where he fits in this sort of chart, he did hit the 30% threshold for market share receiving yards and a 36% dominator rating in that age 18 breakout season. So you slide him into this chart, he's right up there with some of those top guys. So his chance of success at the NFL level for fantasy purposes, which if you're good for fantasy, you're probably really good for your NFL team, is quite high. So when you're looking at his stats combined with advanced analytics, that's why these numbers, breakout age, market share, dominator rating, they matter. And Rondale Moore checks every single box based on what he did as an 18-year-old true freshman. Now let's get into the pros and cons of Rondale Moore. The pros: he's dynamic, he's versatile, he's fast, he's physical, he's dynamic. He can do every single thing that you want from a wide receiver. He can play on the outside, he can play on the inside. He's dynamic in the return game. You can give him jet sweeps out of the backfield. He is an absolute problem for defensive coordinators. I cannot stress this enough. 114 receptions. There was no David Bell next to him. There was no alpha wide receiver taking the attention away from Rondale Moore. It was him and him alone destroying college football. And if you want to see a game where he absolutely takes over, go watch Ohio State versus Purdue 2018, and you tell me that is not an NFL player. Rondale Moore absolutely shredded the Ohio State Buckeyes in spectacular fashion. He is great. He is a great collegiate wide receiver who had an injury-shortened 2019 season, but we should be very excited about for his prospectus at the next level. What are his cons? Size. That's it. It's size. That is the only limitation that is holding Rondale Moore back. I don't want to hear about durability, any of that. He's built, he's put together well, he's a spectacular athlete. The only thing holding Rondale Moore back or knocking him is his size, and we are hoping that he truly comes in at 5'9". If he comes in at 5'9" or even 5'8.5", I'm not worried. I'm not concerned about a player who checks the analytical boxes, who has elite athleticism, and has the production to back it up. And when I'm thinking about a comp for Rondale Moore in his play style, it's Steve Smith, the former Carolina Panther and Baltimore Ravens wide receiver. And when you look at their build and their athleticism, they're very, very similar. Steve Smith coming out during his NFL draft year was 5'9", 184 pounds. He ran the 40-yard dash in 4.4 seconds, a 38.5-inch vertical jump, a 4.25 short shuttle, and a 7.44 three-cone. And we saw that Steve Smith is probably that borderline Hall of Fame caliber type wide receiver. He's definitely in the conversation as a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Steve Smith was absolutely dynamic. He was an alpha wide receiver at 5'9", 180 pounds. They play very, very similar styles of football. They are aggressive. They are alpha dog mentality. I'm not worried about Rondale Moore. So when we're talking about his projected NFL draft capital, he should project as a first-round pick. Is he going to be the top wide receiver? Does he have a chance at the top spot? I would say no based on his size. You've got players like Jamar Chase, who's well over 6 foot, Rashad Bateman, who's over 6 foot, and Jalen Waddle, while not 6 foot, he's just a special player as well. Those two, Jalen Waddle and Rondale Moore, probably the two most explosive players in college football with the ball in their hands. Maybe Tutu Atwell would have something to say about that. But I don't think he has a shot for the top spot, but he should project as a top 32 pick in the 2021 NFL draft. His competition, like I talked about, it's Jamar Chase, it's Rashad Bateman, it's Jalen Waddle, maybe a Tamarion Terry out of Florida State, maybe even a Devonta Smith out of Alabama. So there is a shitload of talent coming out in the 2021 class, and that's what Rondale Moore has to compete with, as well as not having tape in 2019, so sort of out of sight, out of mind. But by the time the NFL Combine rolls around and the pre-draft process starts, Rondale Moore will kindly and politely, Jay-Z, allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Rondale. What is Rondale Moore's fantasy upside? His fantasy upside is a wide receiver 1. He is a top 12 wide receiver in my personal rankings, patreon.com/altgas. Cornerstone rankings. I rank players in the past 3 or the past 2 draft classes and the next upcoming draft class. So 2019, 2020, and 2021. I have him as my 13th overall player. The only wide receivers I have ranked ahead of Rondale Moore in my Cornerstone rankings are CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, and A.J. Brown. The receivers that I have ranked right below Rondale Moore, Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson, Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy. Yes, I like Rondale Moore more than I like Justin Jefferson, and I know it's hard to believe, but even Jalen Reagor. That is how special of a talent Rondale Moore is. That is how dynamic he is, and the fact that he's already declared for the 2021 NFL Draft, it is wheels up for Rondale Moore. The size, don't let it be a concern. He's athletic, the production, the advanced analytics, and everything that he brings to the table, that dog mentality, is why you should be excited about Rondale Moore for your NFL team. You should be excited for Rondale Moore for your fantasy teams. He's a special player, and we can't wait to see him on Sundays here in the near future. That's the show. Quick, fast, and in a hurry. Everything you need to know about Rondale Moore as a prospect. I'll continue to talk about these guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, thumbs up. Please comment, subscribe to the channel. And if you do want more exclusive access to me, patreon.com/allgas. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Hustle, motivate, be great. Check you later. Deuces.